All right, we got Nate Jackson. How are we doing today, man?
Doing really good, man. How are you?
Pretty good. What have you been up to since the quarantine caused everything to stop?
Yeah, quarantine has been crazy. It's been different. So I'm married and I got 4 kids. So just being in the house and around the kids all the time, and I think they're getting sick of me and tired of me. But it's been cool. It's been fun. Actually, during this time, um, especially with recent events, there's protests going on, and there's a lot of really tough stuff that's going on. I'm getting organized a little bit, and I've had some time to reflect on my role in society, which I think is really valuable. But for the most part, like quarantine, managing that has been nice for me. I think as a wrestling coach, me and my staff at Princeton are kind of figuring out how we could be more effective in recruiting and use some of these things to take advantage of um, when we all go back to normal. And I think that normal is a weird word too. So like I don't think there is going to be like a normal anymore. It's going to be a different thing. So just taking some of the things that we're learning now and then being better equipped to move forward.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I feel like there's definitely at least not going to be a time where it just stops being all coronavirus weird and all this stuff and then just goes back to it. At least take a long time to go back to what it was like before.
For sure.
But anyways, so the reason I had you on is because you're starting an organization called the Black Wrestling Association.
Yes.
I guess what is your take on just everything going on in the world right now?
It's a good question. So I kind of want to share a personal story, I guess. So when I learned of the murder of George Floyd, um, I was sitting at home and I saw this video and it's blurred because you got to have like permission, you got to click and give consent to watch this video. So I start watching, right, and I'm like, what is this? And then maybe after 30 seconds in, I got a good idea of what was going on, and my wife comes over and she just tells me like, hey, like she just tells me turn it off, whatever. So I end up turning it off and listening to my wife. But I think the thing that sucks most about that is that me, along with pretty much everybody in society, when they were watching this video, we all kind of knew what was going to happen, right? I didn't have to watch the end of the video to know what was going to happen, and that realization really struck me. It's like, man, that sucks, and it made me really, I was in a really bad place. So one of my buddies reached out to me, Kyvan Gatson. He's a great wrestler, in his own right, national champion, USA, what is it? U.S. Open champ.
Hmm.
And he reached out to me, man, and he was like impassioned, like, so like, what are we gonna do? And he put me on the spot, so I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about, man. Like, I feel what you feel. It's tough. The world, unfortunately, is the way it is sometimes, and how how are we gonna get through this? And like, I was honestly thinking about different challenges we can do and stuff like that, which it's well meaning, and you do it to cope yourself, but he kept prodding me on like, no, man, like, what are we gonna do? Like, I think we need to do something, and he kind of put me on the spot, like, you should do something. What do you think we should do? So I said, you know what, I got a lot of wrestling buddies, and you're one of my wrestling buddies. You got a lot of wrestling buddies. Let's start calling our friends and just talking to them, because the first thing we can do is check in on people that we care about. So we started checking in with these guys, and personally, like, I knew how they would react to this type of thing. We know the story. We know it's a tragic event. But I was like really impassioned and moved because of how similar their experiences were to mine, and how similar they identify with what was happening. It wasn't like people were all over the place. Like, we were almost step for step, saying the same thing, feeling the same thing, which kind of made me like, want to continue to make calls. So over the course of like 2 to 3 days, and when I tell you, like, it was 2 or 3 days of not really doing anything but calling guys,
Yeah.
um, we look around and it's like we called, like, I check in with Kyvan, it's like, man, we called 50 guys. we called, almost 40 guys or whatever the number was. So we said, man, we should figure out how to get everybody in the same room, and obviously with quarantine, it's kind of hard. So
Hmm.
we set up a Zoom call, and in that Zoom call, we had breakout rooms, and we had about 40 guys, black senior wrestlers, um, black athletes, black coaches, black former athletes, black former coaches, and just people that we knew really, and had a relationship with, and we had them on these calls, and we had breakout rooms, them answering questions. They weren't talking over each other. We had different. I designated a couple moderators where it was like 5 rooms where guys really had an opportunity to vent, and let out those grieves, those grievings, and grieve together, and really like have a brotherhood and a bond, and be open and raw with each other in a world where a lot of times you can't always say what you think, and um, I think it goes really far with a black wrestler, because the demographic is what it is within our sport, where it's not a lot of black wrestlers. So it was
Hmm.
kind of comforting having those guys talk. But at the end, when we feel a little bit better about ourselves, we still were stuck with the same question, like, all right, what now? Like, do we just go back to normal life? And that kind of that call came and went, and after that, me and about 10 other guys said, you know what, we need to do something about this. So, um, in order to, solve the greater problem of racism in our community, in society, we wanted to use our platform in a way where, we could make our place a little bit more equal, a little bit more equitable, and then be a model for the rest of society, or the rest of other people's circles, where they can start bridging some of those gaps. And it sucks because like people think about it, like we're having this talk right now, and it's like an uncomfortable topic, um, but we can't really afford for it to be uncomfortable anymore, because it's a lot of really uncomfortable situations in life that go way further than just talk. So I'm pretty excited. I mean, we're like, when I say we're at the grassroots, like we just got like LLC, and trying to be a nonprofit, so applying for 501c3, and just really just trying to get organized. We're checking in with different wrestling groups that we may have missed, because we couldn't cover every group on those calls. Just to let them know that we have they have our support, and we're trying to garner as much support as we can. Right now is a time where we're really focused on outreach and representation. So if we can control our narrative, and be good ambassadors for black wrestlers, for black wrestlers and their allies, people who care about black wrestlers, and care about our voice, we can make it a little bit easier. I think that this thing really took form for me when I started thinking about my kids. So I have 4 kids. I'm pretty young, and I have 4 kids, which is not, I wouldn't recommend it, but it's put me in a place where I don't always think about just myself. It's easy for me to look around and say, yeah, I got a lot of great things going, and I can sit back and not really be affected by a lot of things. But I'd be foolish to think that my kids won't be affected by some of this stuff. So I know that my kids, they have to be debriefed on what the world is and how they can navigate it in a safe way, and that's unfortunate. So now I'm turning my attention to like, okay, what's going to happen when they decide, or if they decide to have kids? Are they going to have that same fate where they have to discuss these things with their kids about how the world is not really safe for them necessarily? And I think that's not right, right? So what can I do now to leave something behind? And I think that this is just the beginning, and this is the tip of the iceberg, but it can be a really big and positive thing. And like I said, like we're focused on the issue of race, and I want to make that really plain, because the people that we need to support it, whether it be black people, white people, whatever person you are, everybody has a role in helping push this thing forward. But I want everybody to know that that is the number one issue. Race within wrestling, like we have some issues too, that we need to square off, but that won't be the first thing that we're trying to tackle. The first thing is going to be representation and getting in front of the kids, really to make an imprint and an impact on their life, and not just share our athletic ability. And people see other guys, guys wrestling and whatnot, and we got some really accomplished wrestlers within our lineup. But I think our stories are what's gonna really hit. And I've been a kid before, and I know when you see somebody that looks like you, it hits you a little bit different. So we kind of want to be that for our community, and I think it's needed. I've talked to guys of every race, and they think it's needed. Talk to USA Wrestling, they think it's needed. So right now, it's just trying to do all the things and build this infrastructure in a really good way. So when it's time to do the work that we want to do, we don't have any setbacks.
Hmm. When you say start with like representation, does that mean just kind of like get your stories out there of like problems that you've experienced yourself, just to like make people realize that like it's a real problem?
Yeah. So I think getting the story out there is important. We had a Zoom call, and when a USA Wrestling SID was on it, and she put a video out, and it was great because it allowed the world to kind of get a glance at some of the guys like Jordan Burroughs and Jaden Cox and Kevin Jackson, Kenny Monday, James Green, BJ Futrell, Gabe Townsend, Kyvan Gatz, and myself. A lot of different guys. You get to see a little peek in their life, and Mark Hall. See what it's like. These are kids. These guys are looked up to and well respected. These are guys who carry themselves with honor and grace. And somebody asked me why do you do all these things if you aren't going to get equal treatment? And the reason is like it's not right. But the reason is we want to leave an imprint on somebody, right? I have family, so that imprint, I can feel that in my immediate life. But we're leaving imprints on people all around the world, and that's white kids and that's black kids. But if we can really put ourselves in front of these kids a little bit more often and a little bit less wrestling specific, I think that it would go a long way into solving some of these problems. And yeah, I think we're the people that do it. We have platform, and we're well-spoken young men. We got a lot of passion and a lot of energy. And we've been through things, and it's cool that it's a lot of guys on the panel. But it might not only be guys. It's going to be girls that need to step up and have something to say, because I can't relate to all the women, and our realities are a lot different. Our experiences are a lot different. So when you think about me and this guy here, like his experiences are going to be a little bit different. But if we can cover enough bases, like I think it could be a really positive thing for kids to see. And we don't have anything like that, so I want to kind of be a person to push that forward.
So you originally said like a lot of you guys when you initially talked and started calling people up that you kind of shared experiences that were pretty similar between like tons of different people. Were you talking like about wrestling or just kind of life in general?
So the experiences that we shared, it was more of the feeling that we had toward what was happening. It almost became like a hot button issue or a topic. It's like protests, riots. Like how do you feel about this stuff? And it's tough to look at it and say like, this is fine with me, and this is not fine, and all this stuff. Like there's a lot of complications in there. I think step for step we were kind of on the same page as far as like what was going on. Like, yeah, I don't agree with people burning and things like that, but I'd be a fool to say that I don't understand it. If you steal someone's life and there's no consequence for that, then you have no worth. So you like people are losing their minds. Like, what do you do? Like I'm in a position of privilege where I can sit back and say, oh, I'm fine. Like I can go to sleep and whatever. But if this happened like right next door to me, and or to somebody I care about, then like, dude, I couldn't. I don't know what I would do. If you feel like you're the contract that everybody abides by in society, which says that if you do this, and this, that this should happen. And if somebody breaks that contract, they need to be punished, and they don't get punished. Like, dude, like it's like you're not getting paid. Like it's like you're doing all this stuff and not getting paid. Eventually, you're gonna lose your shit.
Mm-hmm.
So people are losing their minds, man, because it's been a long time. This isn't this isn't an isolated incident. This is there's stuff happening every day. So it's been happening for a long time, and it needs to change. And people are ready and courageous enough to step up right now. So I kind of want to be one of those people that says, I'll put my neck on the line a little bit and be out there a little bit. But I believe in what I'm doing, and I think it's a positive thing to push society forward. I think we've been bogged down by this issue long enough. There's been times in my life where these issues have been swept under the rug, and it's like, oh, it's over. It's like, no. We got a lot of things we need to do, and it's like I've never been in a position where I can really even say that. So now that I feel like, I have the support of my peers, and people are kind of rooting me on, and it's like, man, I've been wanting to say some of the things that I've felt for a long time. I think that it's just time to do it, and life is not promised. Dude, we might not wake up tomorrow. So it's just when are you going to try to make an impact on issues that exist?
So I feel like you talk about like everybody has a role in this problem. So like as a white guy myself, like how can I help going forward? Because I'm sure a lot of the people that listen to this are in that same boat to like do their best to just like stop these problems. Like what is my role, I guess?
So yeah, I think the best thing you can do is listen. So I had a talk with women wrestlers of color last night, and on that talk, I didn't talk over them and tell them how I think their issues should be interpreted. I listened. I think now is going to be a time to really listen. I think not don't just listen when they're talking, but like you can seek out information and really figure out, like, get to the crux of why. When I was a young kid learning about things, an 8-year-old kid, big brain, wanted to be a biologist, wanted to travel the world, finding stuff about animals. And when I started learning about my people and what has happened in our past, that it was kind of a traumatic experience for me. Like when I look back on it as a man, like I look back, I'm like, damn, like I have a 7-year-old kid. Like I couldn't imagine if his brain was just churning for this type of information. And that's what it was. And you chase that rabbit hole and you find out a lot of information. I think we need more people who are curious enough to find out. You think about like Black Wall Street, where this place that was doing so well with black representation and black businesses was bombed. Like, it's like that wasn't in history. Like I didn't learn that in school. I learned that from my parents, and
I Would
learned it
you
from
go
people
into
who
that
learned.
a little bit more? I've never heard about that. That might
So
be
I
a new
challenge you
problem.
to look it up, man, because there's things like this that have existed forever. Like things like the Ku Klux Klan, like it still exists and it's not a terrorist organization. And it's like, I can go on and on about these things. There's so much information out there. There's so many speeches that have been done by people 100 years ago, that talk about some of these things. We're not too far removed from some of the attitudes and, what is it, the 70s, I think. You could marry whoever you wanted. It could be, it was no, like, you can't marry a white woman if you want to marry a white woman. And that's not that long ago, So I think that for us to not see it is one thing, but for us to deny that it exists is another thing. And I think that as a, just speaking to the white community, I think that we need to be a little bit more actively anti-racist as opposed to not racist. Like I'm not racist, but I'm anti-racist.
Hmm.
So being in the middle really right now doesn't do anything for the person that is being oppressed, or for the group that's being oppressed. And it's so many things. And I hope to be able to give so much information during this time while I create, me and my team create all these things. Kerry McCoy been really instrumental in helping push this thing forward. So I'm the president of BWA. Kerry McCoy is the vice president. And then we have a bunch of board members, and we're starting to really zero in on how we're going to operate, figuring out funding structures and different things like that. But I think that it's going to be a really positive thing, and it'll be national really quickly. I think that some of the message can get lost when you're just doing something. So right now, as a leader, like I'm trying to listen and hear people, because even myself, like I feel like I'm far removed from some of our issues because of, you know, just being away from it, you know. So like um, I feel like I have a place where I'm at a place of privilege as well, where I don't have to feel some of the oppression as much as other people. But I carry it and I acknowledge it. So, you know, use me as a model, use me as a model, a person who acknowledges it. And then now I'm going to use the power that I've garnered to try to do something about it.
Cool. Good stuff. What are your next steps, I guess, then with BWA?
Yeah, just figuring out a board, zeroing in on like exactly who's going to do what and how we're going to operate, organizational structure, short term, long term goals. So that's really it. I kind of know what I want it to be, and you know, you look at like Beat the Streets and things like that, where you can kind of model some of that stuff, and bringing the right people in. You know, USA Wrestling platform, Beat the Streets, and then there's a lot of people who've actually been reaching out. So I want this to be a all-inclusive thing where everybody has a role, and I want it to be something that can make an immediate impact. And in order to do that, I do have to slow down, because I know initially I was just going so fast,
Mm-hmm.
and I think slowing down and not missing out on learning is kind of what I'm tasked with right now.
Cool. So I know I like filled out a survey. I assume that you guys are gonna just use that kind of like to send me more information.
Absolutely.
Where can people find that survey?
So if you go on our social media, right now we have a website that's under construction. It's blackwrestlingassociation.org or blackwrestlingassociation.com, blackwrestlingassociation.net. All those take you to the same domain. Right now it'll say the domain is under construction because we're getting it together.
Okay.
But on social media, Twitter, it's BWA or BW Association. Um, and then Instagram is BW Association. You'll find a link embedded on that profile, and just follow it, and then fill out that short form. And that's where we're going to help keep everybody updated. And also, we'll have your information so we can reach out individually as well. So yeah, so that you've done a lot more than a lot of people already. So I really appreciate you for that.
Yeah, I hope everyone that's listening to it does it, even if the issue doesn't like affect you yourself. I mean, you can't just kind of sit back and relax like we've done for so long to allow these issues to keep happening. So, yeah.
Sure, man, and thank you for that. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, no problem. I mean, I'm not going to act like I've been like, a huge social justice person in the past, but I mean, feel like it's, you know, it's not getting any better now. Everyone's really realizing it, so I got to step up and start to do my part. So, yeah, I'm glad
Absolutely.
that you got to share about this stuff, and I think it's really cool. And seeing like it happen in the wrestling community definitely inspired me to, I mean, at least get you on the podcast and share about it, which I'm happy about. I hope a lot of other wrestlers see this and start to pay more attention to these issues. So,
Absolutely. Absolutely. And yeah, man, that's you using your platform. You're helping push this thing forward in your way, and that's awesome. Like the reason that we did have that video out, and we got some pushback from it, because people felt left out, and some people had a voice and they weren't able to share. But the reason that we put that video out was because we wanted the conversation not to die, because these type of things come and go. Those hashtags come and go, and they lose momentum. This has to be a little bit bigger, so that's what we're doing.
cool. Well, I would love to have you on again and kind of just like go more into your wrestling career as well, kind of like what I've done for the other ones. But I'm glad we talked about this. I'm gonna get this one out as soon as possible. But
Absolutely.
I do have a couple more questions for you.
Absolutely.
Um,
Shoot, man.
just some quick ones. So one I kind of wanted to ask: you're training at the NJRTC right now and coaching. How has that been going for you? Just like balancing all that and having four kids.
It's pretty crazy. So yeah, now I got BWA to add to that mix. But I think that for me, having kids, I actually had kids in college. So um, just communicating with my wife was really important. And then I transferred that over to communicating to my coach, Reese Humphrey, who's an awesome coach, and to the guys on my staff, the guys on the staff at Princeton University. So as long as you communicate, like it's workable. Everybody wants it to work. Me competing helps me a lot. It helps our program with recruiting, and then it also helps me, get out this. I really love wrestling, and I still have a lot left. But it also helps me as a coach. So I'm learning new things all the time. I'm always tweaking things here and there. I have to think really critically about my own wrestling, but that directly translates to the guys that I work with. So it's pretty advantageous. And like I said, like Reese is a wizard. He's really good at what he does. He has a really unique perspective on how to coach. He does it with so much finesse, and it's tough. It's tough coaching guys who are out of college. Like guys a lot of times don't really have an ear for a coach like that anymore. You're tired of being told what to do. So these are grown men, and to be able to make immediate impacts on all these guys and just kind of unlocking a little bit of our potential, like it's really, really awesome by him, and it just kind of speaks to how much he does know and how thoughtful he is and his approach. But then, I have a staff with 3 really high level coaches, and, they help me a lot. I've learned so much just from watching them do what they do. And I'm going to take that with me as I, continue to coach. And I think it's going to be a career for me as a coach. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I gotta say, like, Reese just seems like such a like optimistic dude, like, and also very analytical about wrestling. It's gotta be pretty cool, like being coached by him and stuff, hanging out with him.
Absolutely. Yeah. So he's a really confident guy, but it's not like a boastful confidence. He's really humble, but he's really confident, and his confidence it exudes. He exudes confidence, and it's like, man, why is this dude so confident in what he does? It's because he put in a lot of time into what he does, and his confidence that he gives that to us as well. He says like, hey, you're really good at this thing. Put this in there, and then you're going to be really good, and you should believe in that. And he has a way of just making us believe in ourselves more so than any other coach I've ever been coached by. And he could teach anything because he believes in what he's teaching. He actually believes in the things that he teaches. He taught me how to do a backflip. I've been alive my whole life, and literally learned how to do a backflip in a day with the guy because he believed in me, and because he believed in me, and he taught me a couple little tricks, I was able to do that because I had confidence in myself. So that kind of, for me, it's like, dude, if you can coach, you can coach. And he's just a really great coach. And he's a great wrestler too.
Dude, honestly, how badass did that first backflip feel?
Oh my gosh, it was sick. It was sick. The first one wasn't too great because I like almost landed on my face. But after a while, like in getting them to land, it got easier and easier. And then I stopped doing them for a couple months. So now I just go out every now and then outside and just try to do a backflip. So I stay, sharp.
That's awesome. Yeah, he seems like a guy that definitely just like walks the walk as well. Not he doesn't just like tell you guys stuff, which is fine for some coaches, but man, he's always doing stuff, especially on Instagram.
Oh my gosh, for sure. And like, he is who he is. What you see is what you get. Yeah, he's gonna be making videos and stuff sometimes. It's like, this guy's funny, this guy's weird,
You gotta love
whatever.
that
But
though.
he gets his family involved with it. He gets us involved with it. And he just has fun with life, So like, it's infectious, Like we see him and like we want to smile because we know that he's having a good time. He's enjoying his life. And he works really hard. He values work ethic, and he values like having a good time and not putting too much pressure on yourself. And that's why everybody who's been a part of NJRTC, if you just look at it, like they've jumped levels from wherever they were before they came here and did a lot better. So I think that's the reason.
Cool, cool. Who do you train with the most?
It just depends on the time of the year. So sometimes, Downey, like different times of the year, it's going to be Pat Downey. Me and him like wrestle a lot. A lot of the live matches and stuff like that. That's where I really want to get push from him and give him push. And I'm sure we kind of seek each other out. But during different times, he might be out of town and might have clinics and things like that. So I spend a lot of time with CJ Brucky, especially as a drill partner and just as a brother. He's a really really good guy. And then I get in there a lot with the college guys. Sometimes, hey, believe it or not, sometimes I wrestle with Reese. It's just pretty funny,
Oh
but
yeah.
he doesn't care. He's like 40 pounds, maybe more. Yeah, like 50 pounds smaller than me. But he doesn't really care. He's strong and he knows how to wrestle. So I have to do things right to score on him and whatnot. And he scored on me before, which is pretty impressive, Reese, that you scored a takedown on me before. But no, he's a really good guy. And then we have some really great athletes on the Princeton team. Pat Brucky, Travis Stefanik. So those guys are always fun to scrap with as well.
Dude, those Brockies are some of the most jacked dudes in wrestling, like in the world, I swear.
They are physical guys, man. They work really hard at their bodies.
Yeah. What is it like? Do you have to wrestle people like that different at all?
um, no, I don't think so, man. I don't. I'm really long, so I don't really feel a lot of people's strength. It's kind of weird, unless they're just pulling on my head a lot. I'm pretty
Mm-hmm.
good at kind of feeling that out and keeping guys at distance. With these long arms. But yeah, no, I wrestle my style, and I think that my style continues to evolve. I have a lot of things that I can give to those shorter, stocky guys, and I got a lot of tricks to give to the longer guys. But for the most part, I try really not to worry about what somebody else's how somebody else wrestles. Pat Brucky is the strongest human that can grab your head. So when he really wants to just grab guys' heads, he'll be making guys like quit and crumble really soon. So, but yeah, so when I'm wrestling him, I put emphasis on keeping him at arm's length. But it's really fun, man, and it's a lot of different styles. Travis Stefanik, dude, if he gets your back ankle in the scramble, it's gonna be tough. So like he's had it. We've been in some crazy scrambles, but he's like a squirrel, man. He's like a squirrel. So oh yeah, man, it's fun. I actually miss it a lot. Like it's crazy that I haven't been wrestling with these guys. I'm saying their names right now. But yeah.
Have you been able to like wrestle at all lately, or not too much?
So I got a mat at the house. I've been doing a lot of stance and motion and things like that. I think I don't have to wrestle so much anymore to feel like I'm getting better. I used to feel like I have to drill so much to get better, and I made most of my jumps just watching a lot of wrestling, watching really high level guys, watching a lot of foreign guys that I don't even know their names. That's really changed the way I view a position, and it helps my anticipation of what is going to be available. And the more you watch it, it's like the slower it moves. Like I was just watching Jordan Burroughs the other day, and everybody talks about his double leg and everything, but I'm more concerned about how he's getting these guys to react all these times. How he's moving. What is he doing with his hands? How is he clearing the tie? What is he doing with his feet? He's like almost always moving. So it's like it's kind of cool to see some of those things, and then I can play with them on that mat, right outside this window here. It's pretty cool.
Also, I kind of just thought of this, but like, what is it like being in a quarantine period with four kids running around?
Dude, so at first it was like me losing my mind where I'm like, man, I can't really do anything and I gotta try to help these kids with school, and oh man, I knew I should have went to school for education, and like that type of regret. And then it's turned into the opposite where I'm like, hey kids, what do you guys want to do today? And they're like, oh, get out of here, dad, we're tired of you. And man, I want to FaceTime my friend, and that type of thing. So it's cool. We actually, as a family, have been really close, and it's been neat. And I think we're gonna look back on this time and be like, man, that was pretty special. I think we're gonna miss it honestly after. Obviously, it's not great for a lot of families right now. It's tough. So I'm extremely blessed to be in the situation I am. And I don't take it for granted. So it kind of it's just for me. It's just been a really humbling experience where it's like you can look and reflect on your life and like say, oh man, like things could be a lot worse. So I'm really grateful for my family right now, and it's good to spend so much time around them. So I hope that we take that with us when we go back to the rustle and bustle of everyday life.
Definitely. I know, like, I'm sure coaching and training takes up, like, you're pretty much gone most of the time at least. So I'm sure it was a total, like, 360 once you're just at home all the time for, like, 2 or 3 months.
Yeah, man. And yeah, I mean, like I said, like a lot of the work I do, other than wrestling, and wrestling takes up a big portion of that. A lot of the work I do for the team is online. So, um, maybe it's going to change the way how long I'm in the office and different things like that because I've figured out how to do a lot of things from, you know, with this Zoom model and just working from home. So it's going to change a lot of things, like I said earlier.
All right. Well, do you have any like funny stories you want to share about like cutting weight or just your time in college or coaching or anything like that?
Yeah, I got a good story. So, the me, Pat Downey, Reese, and Bryce Meredith all went to Vladikavkaz. It was like the first trip as it was in December of 2018. It's like the first trip as like an NJRTC. NJRTC's only been around for not even 2 years, so it's pretty nuts. The growth. But yeah, so Pat Downey can do a backflip now, but before he consulted with Reese, um, he tried to do a backflip, and not only the backflip, he tried to do a backflip with a basketball in between his feet. So he was convinced that he's an athlete, a superior athlete, so he could do this without even practicing. Um, Long story short, Pat jumps backwards and lands right on his neck. And literally, I thought that he had injured himself and was going to be out of this tournament. But he didn't get hurt. But now he can do a backflip. So Reese taught him how to do a backflip in a day. It only took him a year and a half to ask.
Wow. That is kind of ironic because he is telling people he's going to break their neck all the time.
That is funny. Yeah, he actually put a video up of him doing it. He'll probably do it again at some point in the future. But he's like, yeah, he's the only one allowed to break his neck.
That's hilarious.
Pretty funny.
Also, yeah, I saw that video of the Boris dude doing the backflip off like a 10-foot ledge.
Oh
Like,
my gosh, yeah,
dude, that
Novachkov.
guy's insane.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Boris Novachkov. He's quite a character as well.
that
They
guy's
call him
crazy.
Logato, the cat.
I love it. And then I got a couple matchups for you. So
Yeah,
the
let's
first
hear it.
one is, how do you see this going? Cox versus Snyder.
Cox.
Okay, is that it?
Yeah,
All
I
you
think
gotta
I
say?
think Jaden has a lot, man. I've never wrestled with Snyder. I've wrestled with Jaden. Um, he's really good, and he's so adaptive. Like the longer you wrestle him, the usually the worse it's gonna get for you because he recognizes patterns really well, and yeah, man, he I think the evolution that he makes throughout a match, and just his the way he thinks is special. So obviously Snyder is Olympic champ and great wrestler. So that's going to be exciting. I can't wait to see it. I'll pick Jaden. I'll be the first to say Jaden.
Definitely. The next one, just because it's coming up, I got Jo versus Nolf.
That was going to be interesting, man. It just depends on what weight. I don't think they're weighing in. Like I think they're going to be both whatever weight.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't think they're doing a weigh-in. And dude, Jo has notoriously gets really big sometimes.
Yeah.
And Nolf, like I don't know. So, uh, Jo and Nolf, I got to pick somebody. Give me Jo. Give me
All
Jo.
right. I'll write it down. The last one I got for you is Seth Gross versus Spencer Lee.
Spencer Lee. I can't pick. I love Seth. I think he's a great human being. Not to say anything bad about Spencer's a great human being as well. But hard to pick against that kid. You know, unless he's wrestling Pat Glory, and in that case, I got Pat Glory. But
Respect.
I'll take Spencer. He must be really strong, dude. He must be like a cyborg.
Yeah. Yeah, man. He's something else. But hey, that is all I got for you, man. Thank you for taking the time to do this.
For sure, man. And yeah, reach out anytime, and I'll be following. And yeah, guys, go follow BWA BW Association. I'm on Twitter and on Instagram, and expect some really cool things.
Awesome. Well, take it easy, man.
All right, take care.